Longhorn Nation, Sooner fans, welcome to episode 177 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. Kevin, a legend, is calling it. A legend that will go down in the annals of college football has said no mas, no mas. And that legend is one Bert Auburn, the University of Texas, Kevin. He is putting it up. Is that who you thought I was going to say?
Of course.
Yeah, Bert Auburn entering the transfer portal, much to the dismay of Texas fans. What is the thoughts on Bert Auburn? What will his legacy be at the University of Texas?
Well, he was a guy who made some pretty big kicks, but at the end of the day, he lost all of his confidence and really struggled in some really big moments for Texas. So it's actually the all-time leading scorer for Texas. But, you know,
That's
at the
amazing.
end of the day, isn't it?
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It is insane.
Now, Oklahoma needs a kicker.
Listen,
Are you writing a recommendation for Bert Auburn to go to Oklahoma?
No, of course not. Of course not. I mean, if you want him, he's out there. I mean, there's nothing stopping him from going there.
No, he'd have to sit out here.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, SEC transfer rules in the spring prevent interconference transfers from playing the same year. So, but, I mean, look, he did a great job for the most part. But, man, down the stretch during this past season, missing 3 kicks against Georgia, missing the kick against Arizona State, having to get replaced in the semifinal. He did. And apparently, here's the thing. He went through the spring, and apparently it must not have gotten any better. Because why would he be in the portal now?
Listen, I love seeing that from a Texas player. Utter failure, catastrophe, embarrassment. All those things make me a little warm inside. But the mentality and the psychology that goes behind the yips makes me not want to see that in anyone.
Seriously.
It is awful.
Tough to see.
It is awful on any sport. Because you got a kid, in his case, that it's a routine action. Right? It's just routine. You just follow the routine. You've done it 1,000 times, 10,000 times. It's really, honestly, it's not that hard for kickers to kick the ball for the most part. They're usually pretty good. I mean, OU's kickers over the last couple of years, whatever. But well, anyway, I think that's a fascinating storyline that he's the all-time leading Texas scorer. I mean, in the University of Texas, and is really having to transfer in disgrace, and it's kind of weird, right?
It's very odd. Yeah, it's not the typical ending to a story of a player like that.
Yeah, unbelievable. Malik Agbo also in the portal for Texas. Texas's portal has not. It hasn't. There haven't been any home runs yet, right? Is there anybody that you got a wide receiver out of Stanford?
Yeah, well, we really like Emmett Mosley. I mean, 48 catches as a true freshman in 9 games, too. I think he was third amongst true freshmen in receptions, and that's only in playing 9 games. So I think he'll actually be pretty good. I'm not saying he's going to be Matthew Golden, but he brings some definite production and just seems to be a reliable target. So I'll take it. Again, he's not Jeremiah Smith or anything, but
on the flip side of the Boomer Bevo podcast, Oklahoma has landed the number 1 running back transfer portal entry in Jadyn Ott, Cal transfer. He has 1 year of eligibility. In 22 and 23, he averaged 5.3 yards a carry, 8 touchdowns and 12 touchdowns respectively. Was hurt a lot of 2024, but still had over 222 receiving yards, 9.3 yards a catch. He's got 7 yards a catch, 7.5 yards a catch, and 9.3 yards a catch. So he's a weapon both running the ball and receiving the ball. I've seen lists put out by SEC, list makers that have Jadyn Ott at the top of returning running backs in the SEC. Is that too high of an expectation to put on this kid that he could be the number one running back in the SEC next year?
I mean, I think it's a high expectation, but I don't know if it's too high. I mean, the kid has been very productive over his career, right? And showed the ability to have breakaway speed and score against some decent defenses, but obviously he'll be playing against better competition. But I don't know, if I'm an OU fan, I'm pretty excited about it.
He's listed over Trey Wisner. He's listed over CJ Baxter. You think that's too much right now?
No, I don't think so. No.
You think what he's done at Cal has earned consideration in being a top 3 running back in the SEC?
Well, I think he's a more talented player than definitely Trey Wisner is, right? I mean,
really?
Honestly, as a Texas fan, I mean, I would prefer CJ Baxter to be our starting running back over Wisner. I think he's just a little bit more dynamic.
Will he? Will he?
I don't know. It depends if Baxter's health, coming off the ACL. So right now, I don't have high expectations for Baxter right now, just because you come off an injury like that, you just don't know how the body's going to recover. It was a really bad injury for him. It's a multi-ligament tear. So, I think Texas will be looking potentially for a running back on the board. We talked about that on our last episode. So I think Ott is a more talented runner than Wisner. I think he's, has the benefit of not coming off a season-ending injury like Baxter is.
So who is going to be who are we missing in running backs in the SEC? Like, who should we be thinking about in terms of running backs?
What's interesting, right? Because
is Dylan Sampson coming back?
No, I think he's going to the draft.
He's going to the draft? Okay. So not him. I'm trying to I guess what I'm asking is there somebody we're missing when we look at best running backs? Or is Jadyn Ott being put there because it's a lot of unknowns? I guess there's Caden Durham at LSU, who
very talented player.
Looked pretty good to me. But I think about like LSU, Georgia, even Tennessee. I'm not sure I can just like their household names that I can just roll off the tongue who's going to be their starting quarterback. There's no Heisman probables on their lineups as of yet.
Correct. And I think that's the reason why obviously Ott's a very talented player, but you combine that with a lot of teams are losing running backs or they're bringing back guys that are good but have not had the type of production that Ott has had.
Yeah, I got to tell you. So here's ESPN ranking the best running backs in 2025.
You got
to figure,
Penn State, right?
What's that?
I think of the Penn State guys, right? You have both of them.
Well, Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame.
Okay.
Nicholas Singleton at Penn State. Katron Allen at Penn State. He's number 3. So they got 2 of the top 3. Mekhi Hughes at Oregon. Isaac Brown at Louisville. They've got Ahmad Hardy at Missouri. He's a transfer from Louisiana Monroe.
Okay, yeah.
Desmond Reed at Pitt. Trey Wisner at Texas. Jamal Haynes, Georgia Tech. Bryson Washington, Baylor. So
yeah, I mean, those top 3 guys are legit, and we know that. I think both the Penn State guys ran for over 1,000.
Well, that's exactly. I guess that's my point. Is if we were in the Big Ten, Jadyn Ott isn't cracking the top 4 or 5.
Yeah, I agree.
At running back.
Yeah.
But in the SEC, just because of the unknown, somebody's going to emerge. I hope in this case it's Jadyn Ott. I think he's got the capability. Cal was in the Pac-12, right?
You
In
see
22 and 23.
Yeah. That year, they're in the Pac-12 still. ACC
And
last year.
so he was going up against, this isn't like the kid they mentioned from Missouri, Louisiana Monroe. He's not going up against Louisiana Monroe's schedule. He's going up against a Pac at the time, a Pac-12 schedule that included an Oregon and a Utah.
USC.
I don't know. I think when you play USC, you're just expecting to pad your stats, Kevin. I think you'd agree
True,
with that.
but they do have good players. Their defense is never good, but they do have good players.
So anyway, I'm excited about that. And then you got McCullough on the offensive line. Stanford, we love to go to Stanford for recruits. He's got 2 years of eligibility. The anticipation with him is that he's going to push Troy Everett at the starting center position, or I should say for the starting center position. Everybody expects that Troy Everett will be the starter, but it sounds like McCullough could push for that, turn it into a competition. By no means is Troy Everett guaranteed the starter. It's a good thing to have.
It's good for everybody. Competition is always good.
Competition's good. Depth is good. I mean, look, Oklahoma knows what they experienced last year in terms of depth issues at offensive line and wide receiver. It's a great move. My question for you, Kevin, is: are we seeing with Jadyn Ott? Are we seeing the Jim Nagy effect already?
Absolutely. I mean, you saw the tweets, right? I mean, he had multiple tweets going back the last couple years about this kid as a potential Senior Bowl candidate. Remember we talked about that, how good of a follow that Jim Nagy's been over the years, just kind of opening your eyes to players that you may not have heard of, right? Obviously, Cal's in a big conference, but they're not the most exposed program. So he'll put these tweets out with highlights of these players, hey, that are on his Senior Bowl watch list 2 or 3 years down the line. So yeah, he's evaluated these guys more than he's looking at it through the eyes of an NFL scout as opposed to a college football coach who doesn't evaluate unless you recruited them in high school. You don't evaluate them until you hear they might be in the transfer portal. Nagy's had this evaluation for 2 years now. So I think he's got a good list of players that he would like to get if they became available. And in the case of him being a grad transfer, the transfer portal rules don't apply in this case. I know some people are wondering, how is he already committed to OU? Or why are we hearing him mentioned with OU before the portal's open? Again, he was a grad transfer, so that didn't apply to him. So Nagy has that list of
that's the old school transfer, right? That's Jalen Hurts. Right. That's Russell Wilson. That's the old school grad transfer. You graduate, you don't have to sit out.
You can go wherever you want. You don't have to sit
out. The good old days. How much? I haven't seen a number on Jadyn Ott, and we're going to talk about numbers when we talk about Nico here in a minute. Don't y'all let the fact that we're not going to talk about Nico, because both Kevin and I have thoughts on that. But on a Jadyn Ott or whomever, it looks like we've established starting quarterbacks to be between 2.5 and 3.5 million in the SEC. That seems to be like kind of what you're hearing. Now, I don't know if Vanderbilt is paying Diego Pavia that, but I bet Lagway's making that. I bet Austin Simmons at Ole Miss is probably making that. We know Arches. They might not even have to pay Arch with all the freaking endorsements he has.
Yeah, he's got the actual NIL.
He has actual NIL, and it's on another level. He signed another one. He signed another one, Viore, the athletic, the one that the gymnast at LSU, Livy Dunn, the same one that Livy Dunn made all her money on for like 4 years. Which we're going to talk about women's gymnastics too. Sorry, LSU, you're not in the Final Four. Anyway, I don't even know where I was going with that. My point is that's kind of the range for quarterbacks, right? Is a really, really good quarterback in the SEC is going to make between, let's call it $2 and $4 million, right? Depending on where you're at, what team you're on, that sort of thing. What do you think the range is for RB1?
And that is a really good question. That's a great question. I have absolutely no idea. I mean, is it $1 million? Is it $750,000? Is it $2 million?
Well, I think what's hard about it is with the quarterback, you're expecting him to play all 50 snaps a game.
Every
Or not
snap.
50, I'm sorry, 70 to 80 snaps a game. I don't know why I said 50. I meant 50% of like the total snaps. Like 70 to 80 snaps a game, you're expecting to get that production out of your quarterback.
For sure.
Right? And so, but with a running back, they might only touch it 15 to 20 times, maybe 5 touches in the receiving game on a good day. And then you have RB2 and RB3 that you expect to have in a rotation. So, you look at like an NFL model, and for years, running backs have been an underpaid entity in the NFL because they're easier to get. They give out faster. They're more prone to injury.
Yeah, the injury risk is the highest position on the field.
It's the highest position on the field. There's so few Adrian Petersons. Who was the really good back? Like, I think of the really good back from LA when they went to the Super Bowl.
Todd Gurley.
Yeah, and then where did he go?
Yeah.
And if they re-signed him, he's definitely not making a max deal or anything like that. That's just the nature of the running back spot. But in college football, you're catching these guys on the upswing. So and they tend to have an outsized influence on the game because of the nature of college football.
Yeah.
If you get them very fast. So I think that their value within NIL is greater than their value within, let's say, an NFL cap. However, you're splitting carries, you're splitting receptions, you're not really counting on them. I don't know how I would be fascinated to know how a guy like Nagy has priced Jadyn Ott. I just really wish we could have some of that information.
Seriously. Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I'm sure he got it raised on what he was getting at Cal.
Sure.
And obviously he's playing in the SEC. So all his games will be nationally televised, playing at OU. So it's everything about it's bigger.
Well, and it's a 1-year rental. So the risk for OU isn't their exposure isn't so much out there, whether it be injury or knock on wood, whether it be injury or just lack of production. It's a 1-year rental. You just roll them out there and you see what happens.
Yeah, and are you guys pretty much expecting him to be RB1?
Well, let's talk about that. In his 2 most productive years, he averaged 5.3 yards a carry, 8 and 12 touchdowns, 897 yards and 1,300 yards, respectively. We're comparing that against Javonte Barnes, who's had 9 touchdowns in 3 years. And averages 4.2 yards a carry, including games against Maine where he pads his stats. And so that was your previous one. Now, a lot of people, I like Xavier Robinson. And I like what he did at Missouri. I like how he looked against Alabama. He does not look like RB1 to me in the SEC. He looks like a change of pace back. He looks like the guy that goes in. He's the every third series running back. He might even be the end of the game, go try to bleed out the clock, a 4-minute drill type situation. But you don't see Caden Durham when you see Xavier Robinson, do you? And I like Xavier Robinson. This isn't a knock. I'm just saying he's not top echelon SEC, right?
I don't think so, but I think he could be pretty good. I think he could be a running back too. A guy, 12 to 15 carries a game. I think he's that kind of player.
That's
from what I've seen.
Okay. That's exactly what I'm saying. So, but I don't think he's backing up Javonte Barnes, or at least that was the plan before Jadyn Ott. We've never gotten out of Javonte Barnes what we were expected to get.
Correct.
His best game he ever had was against Florida State in the bowl game, and like I said, Maine last year. Like that's all everything else has been very underwhelming. They've blamed it on injuries, which is it's suspect to me because his injury-plagued years are as good as his non-injury-plagued years. So I don't know if I really buy that completely. I think it's possible you could throw last year out. But even with last year, it's like, okay, maybe we're not going to run the ball really well. Maybe we're not going to throw the ball really well. and all this stuff, but you expected at least maybe be able to hand the ball off and go pick up 3 or 4 yards. No, we couldn't even do that. I don't know. I think I'm excited if Jadyn Ott's 1, Xavier Robinson's 2. I'll tell you what, I'm hearing rumblings about Taylor Tatum.
Oh, yeah?
Rumblings, Kevin.
Positive rumblings?
Negative rumblings. I have not heard. This is no confirmation. This is soccer sideline talk amongst dads. Dads that are usually in the know, though. I've had some pretty good feedback from some of these soccer dads. And I'm just saying, Taylor Tatum is questionable for next season. I'm putting it out there.
Now, are we talking about him going to the portal or
Yes.
maybe sticking to baseball?
Yes. Portal.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. I've been very hard on DeMarco Murray for the last year especially, and maybe the last 2 years, because I just think we've gotten a dearth of production from what looks like a very talented running back room. So is Taylor Tatum seeing Jadyn Ott and seeing his carries go down, and he's threatened by that? Is Taylor Tatum feeling pressure from DeMarco Murray because he can't hold on to the freaking football, and he's feeling his playing time is threatened from that? Is Arbuckle's system different than what Taylor Tatum wants to participate in? I think all 3 of those could be very real situations. Jadyn Ott, turnovers, different system. I don't want to lose that talent. But I wonder if Jadyn Ott isn't a protection against possibly losing Taylor Tatum, or at least a benefit.
And honestly, to me, it seems like when you bring in a kid like Jadyn Ott, you expect him to be your running back 1.
Yeah, so what does that mean? If Taylor Tatum's on Texas's roster and you bring in a QB or an RB1, do you think a guy of his quality is seriously considering leaving?
Yes. Yeah, 5-star running back in your second year. Yeah, I think you had to consider it.
Dude, he fumbled the ball a lot, though, right?
He did.
You agree?
He did.
The turnovers weren't good. And we for the entire season, all 13 games, I sat here and referred to him as, when I look at the roster of running backs, as our only home run hitter.
Yeah.
Dude, he didn't hit no home runs.
Sawchuck, but
he didn't hit no home runs.
No.
He never broke one for 50.
No.
Well, of course, nobody broke one for 50 on this team, but he didn't either, And so, I don't know. It's going to be something to keep an eye on because I don't want to lose 5 stars.
No.
Some of these receivers that we're losing to the portal or that we lost to the portal and stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose 5 stars.
Yeah. Did you hear anything about him just during spring practice that he was looking good in any of the reports at all?
I haven't.
That would be an indicator there that just maybe it's just not working out for him there. And usually running back is a position that translates the quickest to the Power 5 level.
Well, I agree. I don't know. I'm trying to rack my brain to go back and think of a running back that had turnover issues, not just in Oklahoma, but one that had turnover issues early and then got over them and became a really good running back. I don't really have a really good example for that.
I can only think of one, and it's not even college; it's in the NFL. Tiki Barber, remember him with the Giants?
Sure.
And he was fumbling a ton, and he actually changed the way he held the football, the way he actually carried it, and then he elevated to becoming one of the better backs in the NFL for a few years. But as far as the college level, I'm not sure.
You know who was turnover prone in the pros? Adrian Peterson.
He was. He did lose the ball quite a bit.
And it blows your mind because he's the strongest guy on the field.
Yeah.
It's possible. Absolutely. It's possible per pound, he might have been the strongest football player to ever play. I don't know. Maybe there's somebody out there. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying. The dude was.
Yeah, exactly.
At however old he is, he might be close to 40. At 38 or 39, whatever, the dude probably still looks like he could go right now. And it would blow my mind when he would fumble the ball for Minnesota. It's like, how are you fumbling the ball? Anyway, all right, I digress. My point being is, I like the look out of the room. I like the look of the room. I like Jadyn Ott at 1. I hope Taylor Tatum stays, but if he doesn't, I think Xavier Robinson is your clear number 2. And then I don't know what to expect in Barnes and Sawchuk's last year. I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe this is probably the third system that they played in, maybe fourth. And you just hope, I guess third, and you just hope that, at this point, maybe this system will work for them better than the other ones. And I mean, I know we're reaching here, but that's just what you hope.
Yeah.
It seems like they stay for a reason, right? You would think.
I mean, we looked at Texas's running back depth last week. And I think on paper, we would have agreed that Texas had better running back depth and production possibilities in 25 than Oklahoma did prior to adding Jadyn Ott. But if Texas doesn't do anything in the portal, and it sticks with Trey Wisner, C.J. Baxter, Jarrett Gibson, Christian Clark, Jaden Blue.
Jaden Blue's gone.
Did he transfer out?
No, he's going to the NFL.
Oh, sorry. Why did I have him written down? I'm sure you're right. I'm not asking you if you're right. I'm sure you're right. So Wisner, Baxter, Gibson, and Clark. Yes. Versus Ott, Robinson, Tatum, Barnes, and Sawchuk. You taking your boys against ours?
I think it's close, right? But I think we're both dealing with some unknowns here. We have proven production with Ott, and we have proven production at Wisner, but the other guys we'll see, right? We'll see. Christian Clark coming off an Achilles apparently has been doing really good at spring practice. Will that translate to games in the fall? We'll see. Is C.J. Baxter recovered from his injury? And will he be close to the same player that he was? I don't know. I think that they need to bring in another running back. I think you can't gamble on the season with unknowns right now. So if there's somebody out there who has proven production and you feel like can carry the ball for you, I think you need to go out and get them.
If C.J. Baxter is 95% healthy, is he the best back of everybody we mentioned? Is he better than Ott?
I think he has more natural ability than Ott with his size and speed combination. But right now, I think you'd have to take the production of Ott, the fact that he's played at this level for 3 years and been successful. I know he was banged up last year, but he has 2 really good seasons of production. And right now, C.J. Baxter played for 1 year. He was in the mix. He wasn't never the, clear-cut guy. And I don't even know if he averaged 5 yards carry his freshman year.
Okay. Rubber meets the road. What was your we haven't made any predictions yet for 2025, but gut feeling before Ott, I'm sure you had a win total in mind for Oklahoma, regular season, 12 games. I'm sure you had a win total for Oklahoma.
Yes. Do you want to know the total? Or?
Well, you can tell me if you want. Does Ott significantly, by a game or more, affect the win total that you had in your mind?
Maybe 1.
Maybe he's worth 1 game.
Yeah.
What do you have? Oklahoma at 7-5?
Yes.
So you think that could potentially? You think his difference could get you 8-4? 8-4.
I think so. Yeah. If he is 2023 version of himself in that offense with John Mateer, again, I think your offense can be really good, but I think Mateer is going to be really good, right? I think he'll be able to run the ball. My concern with OU is the receiver position.
Well, yeah, it's just
And I heard, wasn't there a kid that looked like it was gonna work for Illinois State kid, and the NIL budget was kind of Did you hear about that?
I didn't hear about that, but I'm not buying any NIL concerns at this point because we seem to be getting whoever we want. I mean, within reason. Maybe we didn't want to spend. So what I've heard that Jim Nagy's philosophy is, as it relates to the portal, is we're only going to add portal additions that have NFL potential. If he wouldn't pick them to play in the NFL, we're not going to add them in the portal. We're not going to waste spots unless we feel like there's a chance of instant production. Which you look at the portal last year, and there were like a lot of dudes added. Well, even in the portal window before, when we had all those Kennesaw State players, I doubt that had Nagy's influence on it. You know, I think those were like fillers.
Yeah. And
you're going to get filler guys. All programs have. Ohio State has filler guys. The bottom 15 dudes on their roster, you know, the guys on the sideline that wave the towel, you know, and that's fine. They're there on a basic scholarship and $100,000, and they're just happy to be at Ohio State or Texas or Oklahoma or Michigan or whatever program it is. But in terms of portal, you do not need to add filler guys to the portal. It's a waste of money and time and effort, and I think it probably even impacts culture. So I like the philosophy, and it seems like that's what we're going with here. So as far as Illinois State receiver goes, I don't know. In terms of, I think it's more of a question at this point of did we want to pay him, not we couldn't pay him. I think that's I think that's a distinction, but I think it's the correct distinction.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as because there's still a budget, right? I mean, you're broke, but you know, you only have so much you're willing to spend on each position. Once you get to that point, it is what it is.
Well, yeah, because look at you still. We've been saying this now for 5 years, but look at A&M and Miami. They can spend all the money they want. They haven't done diddly do with it. For sure. I mean, they have been blank check spenders, and it has not produced wins.
Correct.
And I think Ohio State, obviously, is a national champion. I think is one to eyeball how they've done it. I like the way Oregon's done things and built their program with the portal. I think they are possibly one to look at. Look at Texas last year. I haven't seen their portal activity this year, but with Golden last year, I mean, that was a ginormous portal addition.
Correct. Grand Slam.
And I'm not sure there's a Golden out there that can have that same impact on y'all this year. I'm worried about Arch's ability to live up to the hype without, you speak of Oklahoma not having weapons, without Texas having the typical weapons it's had over the last 3-4 years.
Yeah. We've got some guys back that I feel really good about. I feel really good about Ryan Wingo.
Ryan Wingo's good. Good.
I feel really good about DeAndre Moore as well. Both of those are proven.
But they're not Golden and Xavier Worthy and the dudes that Quinn's been throwing. Well, we know what Ryan Wingo and DeAndre, very good. Wingo's a really good. Wingo could be.
Yeah, 5-star.
I'm not knocking on. Yeah. DeAndre Moore's a good football player.
Yeah.
He's a really good football player. I would like to have a DeAndre Moore-like player on our team that you could count on, but he's not all SEC.
Maybe. We'll see.
You think DeAndre Moore is all SEC? Man,
I think it can be.
This show could just evolve off of the rip. Okay, listen, we got storms coming tomorrow. We need to think about this. We have listeners out there that pay attention for these commercials because of the storms. So we live in Oklahoma. Kevin and I both live in Oklahoma. Grew up in San Antonio, but we live in Oklahoma. And in Oklahoma, we are now officially in storm season, and it starts this Easter weekend. By the way, Kevin, good happy Friday. It starts this Easter weekend. I work for Brown O'Haver. Brown O'Haver is a public insurance adjusting firm that works for the insured, not the insurance company. So if there happens to be tornadoes pop up in the next couple of days and your house gets hit, or you know somebody's house gets hit, you want to call or have them call Brown O'Haver at 405-735-5510. They work for you to get you more money from your insurance company than they typically pay out. We've been in business in Moore, Oklahoma since 2006. We know how to get claims paid. Call Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. Kevin, the other peril this weekend could very well be hail. If your roof gets lit up with hail, who do they call?
Yeah, give Pioneer Roofing a call if you have any hail. If you feel like you may need a new roof, if you want someone just to come out and look at it, Pioneer will go out, give you a free inspection, let you know if you need a roof replacement or if you need a quick repair or if there's nothing wrong with your roof at all. They'll give you a free, honest assessment on where you stand. They can help you out. Give them a call, 405-549-2712.
Kevin, does Pioneer Roofing do emergency repairs like tarping and stuff?
Yes.
Okay, this is important. Okay, I'm just going to say this just as a PSA, if you will, community notes. When you have an insurance claim, let's say you did have a hailstorm and you had a leak, it is your responsibility as the homeowner to mitigate your loss, which means if you can reasonably protect it from additional damage, you need to do that. So if you do get a wind claim a wind event or a hail event that causes leaks, you need to get it tarped. Call Pioneer Roofing. It will help you long-term with your insurance claim to take the necessary actions because you kind of have to. So
absolutely,
think about that. Ken, in other college football news, I led off with a legend retiring. I was going to get to Lee Corso, and then we started talking Bert Auburn. Lee Corso, calling it the end of the career. Thoughts on Lee Corso? Thoughts on what his impact has been on college football?
Oh, it's been great, man. It's been a lot of fun. The putting on the mascot headgear every week on game day became a thing that you look forward to. Even if you didn't watch the show, you throw it on there just to see his pick and seeing the crowd reaction. Some great memories there between University of Texas and the University of Oklahoma, right? So, yeah, he's going to be missed, but yeah, his impact is definitely there, and his legacy is cemented.
I should have gone back and looked. Game day has been to OU, Texas. I don't know.
A lot of times.
Double digits, 10, 11 times, maybe more.
I would say that at least close to it, if not more.
I mean, because even if they're not both ranked, it's still the best. Well, obviously, we think it is the best atmosphere in college football. So it's just a place to be on the second Saturday in October. I've seen game day there, obviously, in front of Big Tex. And then, you see him when he does the picks. I should have gone back and looked to see how many times he's picked Texas and how many times he's picked Oklahoma. But when he picks Oklahoma and he puts the schooner on the top of his head and fires the roughneck shotgun, to me, that's
that was the first. I think it was the first time he did it in 08.
It's honestly one of the most iconic scenes in football. With him pulling it up and and Kirk laughing. Dude, listen, man,
and kind of hiding for his life too.
The best part about Lee Corso is obviously he wasn't afraid to take himself too seriously.
For sure.
And he reminded all of us that it's a game. We're watching a game. It's supposed to be fun. The guy coached Indiana.
Yeah.
He knows his football. He knew his football. And I think as viewers, we've probably forgotten that he used to be able to break things down very proficiently and that kind of thing, because he's kind of, as he's gotten older, just kind of turned into the character of himself, and that's fine. But he made it fun, and I think we both can say we wish him all the luck in whatever he goes, whether it's just hanging out and playing golf and watching football on Saturdays.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. In other not so heartwarming, yeah, go ahead.
Shout out to Lee Corso for being the only person on the panel who picked Texas to beat USC in the 05 national championship game too.
Did he really?
He did.
I probably had USC. That was a weird game for Oklahoma fan because USC was coming alarmingly close to OU's 47 game winning streak.
Yes.
They were like at 31 games.
Yeah, it was in the 30s.
Is that right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so it was just this thought that's like, oh, would they? Is it possible? But you couldn't root for Texas either.
Yeah.
And USC had just beaten the what out of OU the year before. So you were mad at USC. And so you're like, I can't root for USC. It was a very weird game. For it being one of the greatest college games of all time, it was maybe one of the most conflicted games of all time for OU fan.
I understood.
It was a hell of a football game, though.
Yeah.
How Lindell White didn't pick up that first down, I don't know. That dude was a beast. That dude was a beast back in the day.
Lindell White and Texas' game plan was to stop Reggie Bush. That was the game plan, to slow down him. And USC was like, all right, we'll just run Lindell White up the middle.
And they did.
Yeah. Yep. And I thought Pete Carroll made the right call to go for it. And I thought the play call was the right play call. The play had worked the whole game. Running Lindell White off tackle. Yeah. It worked the whole time.
Yeah, because even if you typically defend that play well, it's still going to pick you up a yard.
Yeah, it's like fourth and 2, 4th and 1.5, something like that.
You know what I'm like? Even well defended, if teams that are USC level good with a running back like Lindell White and offensive lineman like USC had back then, you run that play well, you expect to get 2 or 3 yards, even if it's defended well.
Correct.
And Texas came out. We know what happens with Vince Young. The rest is history. Anyway, an awful game to watch as an OU fan, but as a college football fan, I mean, some of the Alabama-Georgia games have gone into overtime. Obviously the Tua game was really good. But probably the best BCS championship game, though. I don't know, because Miami and Ohio State went into overtime, didn't they?
Yeah, but I don't think that was as good as this one. That was fun.
You're right.
That was
I think you're right. I agree. I agree with you. It was a hell of a game. I'll tell you.
So much talent on the field, too.
Oh, God. Are you kidding me?
I mean, it's probably combined. Yeah. I mean,
because that was your defensive heyday, right? Like, your defense was stacked in 05.
Yeah, it was, especially the secondary. I mean, we had 5 NFL guys starting the secondary. Literally 5.
All right. Shout out to Lee Corso for picking Texas. Way to go. All right. In other news, not as heartwarming as learning about Lee Corso hanging it up, Nico Emalaya, and I know we're like 5 days late on this, but that's all right. We still want to talk about it. It's impactful. That's correct. Basically, according to all reports, put an ultimatum out to Tennessee last weekend. Said he would not be participating in spring ball and would not play the next season unless he upped his $2.4 million projected NIL package to $4 million. It did not take long for Tennessee to apparently call his bluff and tell him to pound sand. All reports indicate, although I haven't seen official UCLA tweets about this yet. Have you?
No. I've seen
this is Friday, April 18th, 11/22. We have not seen anything with Nico officially going to UCLA. Colin Cowherd has reported it. I think not Staples. Somebody else, though, has reported it. But again, it hasn't been official yet, which makes me wonder, is Nico's guys just throwing it out there to kind of box UCLA into having to come up with a package? I don't know. Reportedly, we're talking $1.5 million from UCLA.
Okay, I hadn't heard that. Okay.
1.5 million, okay?
Yeah.
However, if you take the 2.4 million that he might have, should have, whatever, gotten in Tennessee, and take off applicable taxes paid in the state of Tennessee, it's $1.6 million take home. Okay?
Yeah.
$1.5 million at UCLA might be a take home of $800,000. Might be a take home of $800,000. And even if it is a take home of $800,000, you still have to pay to live there. You have to pay for an apartment or a house or whatever it is you want to pay for. Kevin,
yeah,
$800,000 is a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not, but it doesn't go as far in California as $1.6 million goes in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Completely agree.
Okay, you are pro player. When we're on this podcast for the last 3 years, you have been pro player. I'm typically on the side of the administration and the coaching staffs. Typically, I definitely am not a fan of NIL in its current form. But on your end of things, pro player, thoughts on Nico playing his hand out at Tennessee?
Well, look, I got no problem with the kid asking for more money, right? Here's what I have a problem with, though, and here's why I think he got some really bad advice here, right? I think he listened to people that he shouldn't have listened to here. I'm not saying he's not accountable. I'm not saying that it's ultimately his responsibility. But people have agents, right? NFL guys have agents, and they make bad moves all the time, right? Holding out was a bad move, right? Not showing up, not returning the phone calls of the head coach and the assistant coaches and other administration. It was a bad move. It was a bad look. Like I said, I have no problem with him wanting more NIL. I thought the timing was horrible. Why wait until there's one practice left in the spring, right before the spring game, to bring up your NIL concerns then? Why do that then? Why not show up to practice? So no, I don't fault Tennessee at all for telling him, no, we're not dealing with this. We're not paying you that amount of money and you can leave. Yeah, I think it was the right move for Tennessee. Like I said, no problem with him wanting more money. If he feels he's worth $4 million, you can always ask for it. I just hate at the time yet.
Since this has come down, rumors or whatever allege that it wasn't about the money, it was about Josh Heupel's system. I don't know how any reputable college football reporter, commentator, or analyst can in some way say that UCLA's offensive system is better than Tennessee's offensive system.
I mean, maybe for developing pro quarterbacks, it is. I don't know exactly what UCLA is running. I don't think any of us do. And again, but if you have a problem with the system is the system. It's not like he's switched it up all of a sudden.
No, he's got the same personnel. He's got the same offensive linemen. He's got the same receivers. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed.
System. Yeah, it's the same system. So
look, Nico was a redshirt freshman last year, right?
Correct.
Okay. We know now. Maybe Arch will buck the trend. Maybe Arch will buck the trend as first-year starters. But first-year starters, especially redshirt freshmen, which Arch will be a sophomore, I guess. But typically, first-year starters, especially redshirt freshmen, struggle in the SEC. Yeah. It's not news to anybody. Nico, look at obviously Jackson Arnold. We've seen other players do that. DJ Lagway got off to a slow start. It happens. But he didn't have a good enough year to negotiate for more money.
Correct.
You don't go to the first. First of all, the fact that he held out before the playoff game.
And we didn't know about that until after all this.
So, yes, I don't know how much of that is just malingering against him and his family.
Correct.
But it sounds par for the course at this point. But if he really did hold out, that's BS.
Exactly.
You can't do that to your teammates. You can't do that to people that are dependent. You just can't do that. It's a commitment level. My girls have played on sport teams that have been terrible. And they've wanted to quit because it's not fun to lose, or it's not fun to, be on teams that just aren't very good. As an example. And what do I say as a parent? And most of my other parents that I know have said in the past, you play till the season's over.
Yeah, just stick with it.
You stick with it. So if he really did that to me is more egregious than anything that's happening in the middle of the spring game.
For sure.
Then, I don't know if they paid him or not. I don't know if they gave him some kind of bonus for making the playoff or what. If I'm his teammate, oh man, would just go all over me. And then on top of all of that, I layer all of that to say, you got blown out by Ohio State.
Yeah, they were never in that
And
game.
he didn't look good in it.
No. I mean, you look at his numbers last year, right? I mean, 63% completion percentage,
Yeah.
2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5
Yeah, but I think
interceptions. That's not bad,
but I don't think the 19 touchdowns, I think not a bulk, but a big portion of those came in the 4 non-conference games.
probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah, so he did not have the production to justify asking for an increase right now. But again, though, we can all bash Nico, and he's earned that bashing. But this is a system that we have in place where there's no rules, so there's nothing stopping a kid from saying, "I'm going to hold out." In every other sport, right? In professional sports, you hold out before training camp if you're going to hold out, right? And again, I'm not saying he's not without. I'm holding him accountable, and I think Tennessee did the right thing in telling him to kick rocks. But there's just no structure to any of this, right? So I heard that it was him and a few players that were like, "Hey, our NIL pays us for 12 games. These are extra games. Shouldn't we get more money?"
Look, if that's the case, it makes me want to puke.
I don't like it either. I don't like it, but that's what happens when there's no structure. There's in the NFL, there's a time that you deal with your contracts. There's a time for free agency. There's a time for everything. Players don't hold out during the season. It just doesn't happen because there's a time that you deal with your contract.
Yeah,
right?
no,
I think that
the system is. We know this. The system is beyond flawed, but there's some common decency, and there's some sport. There's a historical tradition of sportsmanship and teamwork and commitment and common sense that tells you maybe you don't hold out before a playoff game.
Correct. Or you don't hold out at the end of spring practice with one right before the portal is going to open.
I can't, and I'll give Texas this one. I don't see Quinn or Arch going to Sark before you play Arizona State and saying, I need more money to play Arizona State.
Correct. No way.
Do you see Danny Stutzman? Danny Stutzman's gone. Do you see Danny Stutzman going to Brent Venables and saying, I need more money to play in a...
Absolutely not.
You don't see it, dude. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It is a broken system, but there's enough precedent to know how to act right.
I agree. Yeah, no, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying, it just seemed like something like this was going to happen at some point.
Well, I'm glad it happened to Tennessee.
Correct. That's
the only one that would have been better is the only one that would have been better is A&M. But it's probably better that it happened to Tennessee for Oklahoma because Tennessee's on our schedule next year, and Tennessee A&M's on your schedule. But just in terms of programs, I would have loved for it to happen to A&M.
And what's unfortunate here is nobody wins from this. Nico's in a worse position than he was at Tennessee, right? He had a really good situation there. He had a really good football team. He was in a system, a good coach,
money.
Correct. Exposure, all of that. So now he's going to be in a worse situation because there's no program that's bigger than Tennessee or better than Tennessee that is going to accept him, that needs him. And then Tennessee's worse. This is a team coming off a college football playoff appearance. I know they got blown out. But they made the playoff.
With a projected returning quarterback that you would expect would only get better.
Correct. You expect Nico to elevate next year. So it was looking really good for him and Tennessee. Now Tennessee's scrambling. Okay, do they like this redshirt freshman that they have? He's talented, but he doesn't have any experience. Or do you try to find one in the portal? Tennessee got a lot worse.
I saw maybe the quarterback at Notre Dame, the Angelo kid, the one that backed up.
He
played a little bit.
Leonard.
Yeah, he played a little bit.
He looked good. He did. But I think if you ask,
right.
So there's no winner here, and that's what really sucks.
And then on top of all that, you're going to UCLA.
Correct. And that was the best option.
You want to be on the outskirts of Power 4 college football? Go to UCLA. They're darn near irrelevant right now.
Yeah. It's not like he went to SC. SC would have been different.
Right. SC would have been splashier, but UCLA is sometimes you forget UCLA has a team. until
I
they
know,
until you watch the Rose Bowl and go, man, they get to play in the Rose Bowl every year.
Right.
How come I don't
But
know
man,
this?
when you watch UCLA play in the Rose Bowl, it doesn't look like the Rose Bowl. It just looks like
Oh,
a
it looks
regular
like you're
stadium.
watching a junior high game at a high school stadium, and
Correct. It
only the
looks like a
parents showed
regular.
up.
Yeah, there's nothing special about that stadium when UCLA is playing in it. The Rose Bowl game, it looks different. It feels different. So
Oh, it
yeah,
is different.
there's no winner here. Tennessee loses, Nico loses, and that's what sucks about all of this. Because it just would have been awesome if he'd have just kept himself there where he belongs at Tennessee. But no, just a lesson learned for everybody. That's the good part. Unfortunate for Tennessee and Nico, but it's a lesson learned for players and for coaches here.
Yeah, and maybe a guy like Jim Nagy, I don't know, but maybe he and his staff look at this and go, okay, listen, we need to have very definitive policies on open negotiation windows.
Correct. Yeah. We negotiate. The season ends
if-
after our last game.
Yeah,
You have this amount of time.
If it can't be because of, if the NCAA can't mandate it, and maybe even the SEC can't mandate it, each program is going to have to take some ownership so that players feel very comfortable in their parameters in which they can negotiate, in which they can make that. I mean, to your point, everybody has a right to hold out. Whenever they want.
At least the right to ask for more money. You can ask,
but
don't. Yeah, he just did it the wrong way.
Don't hose your teammates. Don't hose your teammates.
And
that should be.
You can't just not show up and not return calls. And even in the NFL, people know that you're holding out. It's training camp. CeeDee Lamb didn't show up at training camp. Okay, yeah, he wants a new contract. Nobody cares.
No.
So, I mean, you're like, yeah, we'd rather have him.
Well, but also, just a subtle difference here, and I don't want to beat this point to death, but a subtle difference here is CeeDee Lamb was playing on a rookie contract.
Yeah, right.
Okay? CD was playing on a rookie contract, and he's now one of the top 4 or 5 receivers in the NFL. Maybe some days, top 2,
Yeah.
He is really, really good. So he established performance and said, okay, I now don't want to play on my contract that was signed before my established performance.
Yes.
And it's pretty indisputable that I'm a top 5 receiver in the NFL and I need to get paid. The difference is Nico wasn't even a top 5 quarterback in the SEC. Right? You see what I'm saying? Like to use the CD argument is, hey, you're stuck in a rookie contract. They're all year-to-year contracts.
Yeah.
He agreed to this 2.4 at a certain point in time. And he tried to grab Tennessee by the short hairs. It's just weak.
My point of bringing up the CD thing is saying that when he holds out, nobody cares. It's not a problem. Everybody understands this is how this works.
Right. Yeah.
When a player has outperformed his contract, he holds out a training camp. They start negotiations. They'll come to an agreement, and everything will be fine before any games happen. Right?
Typically, yeah. I mean, how often?
Yeah.
How often
sometimes, yeah.
But
Emmitt Smith did that famously in 1993, and then the Cowboys started off
still won the rushing title.
Yeah, and they still won the Super Bowl. They started off 0-2 though. So.
But hey, guess what?
Again,
I think what can we say about that? Nico ain't no Emmitt Smith.
No. This is a guy who was he had won the rushing title 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
So
Nico's not. Yeah. It's
it's just a valuable lesson for everybody, right? We gotta organize this thing. NIL, I like it. I don't like how it is now, how there are no rules and there's no structure, there's no order. This was an inevitable situation. And like you said, glad it happened to them and not us.
100%. All right. Real quick, men's basketball, Porter Moser has a little bit of mojo going in the transfer portal right now. I don't know if he's suddenly found some Jim Nagy money or what, but Xavier Brown, St. Joseph's point guard, Nigel Pack, Miami guard, and Tay Davis, Notre Dame forward. Everybody very excited about these. I'm excited about them. It's positive momentum for Oklahoma basketball. Other news and positive momentum for Oklahoma in general. Women's gymnastics makes the Final Four again. They will go up against Missouri, UCLA, and Utah. UCLA, of course, has Jordan Childs, gold medal winner, on their team. That's no joke. KJ Kindler looking for chips, talking about criticism and hate that's been thrown at OU's program, probably because they're so good. Jordan Bowers, Faith Torres, Aubrey Davis looking to lead them to, I think, what would be KJ's 8th national championship. The only thing I would say about this entire situation is no LSU, no Alabama is a huge advantage for Oklahoma. UCLA is really good. I don't think they're as good as UCLA was. I actually watched a lot of gymnastics this year. UCLA was the only team that beat Oklahoma in a duel, or a meet, I should say. And they looked really good doing it. They're a more athletic, more powerful team than Oklahoma is. And so their start values are a little higher, and just kind of their moves are a little higher and stronger and faster and all that kind of stuff, where I think OU is more technically sound. I think, though, within these 4 groups, OU is your clear favorite, and I'm looking forward to watching it. Texas too scared, apparently, to start a gymnastics team, which just is it's kind of weak.
That's the last thing y'all want.
I think it's kind of weak. You know what's interesting? I'm fascinated by the state of Texas not having a Division I gymnastics team.
Yeah, no gymnastics, no wrestling.
A&M, TCU, SMU, Texas Tech, even Houston, and Texas as a state for amateur gymnastics, as it were, is ginormous.
Correct.
Caroli's
rosters of OU and LSU, and I mean they're filled with girls from Texas. Mm-hmm.
Is it just not a program they want to support, or is there something that has to
have the whole state?
Well, I almost wonder if, and I have no idea. I'm just speculating. Okay, this is just I'm not zero idea. Obviously, I rarely have an idea. Most people that listen know this, but I'm just speculating. Does the amateur infrastructure of gymnastics in Texas not want a college interference with what they've got going on there? Do they not want the influence? Is there like a lobby that has reached out and kind of coordinated all that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it's odd that the largest state in the union behind California in terms of people doesn't have a D1 gymnastics program. You know what I mean? It's just in a state replete with high-level gymnasts. But at Oklahoma, we'll take all the Texas gymnasts that want to come if they're good enough to go. My favorite coach, by the way, at Oklahoma is KJ Kindler. It's not even close. That lady's such a badass. I love every part of the way she approaches sports. She does it with humor and with toughness. And you just watch somebody that does not accept your very best.
Yeah.
Unless that's KJ Kindler. And you can see it when you're just watching it live in the Lloyd Noble. You just watch your coach, and it is like, you did your very best, she accepts it. You did anything less, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
And I just love it. All right. We're running a little long, but
real quick, Texas number one. Real quick, Texas number 1 in baseball right now.
Oh my God, Kevin, come on, bro. Nobody cares about baseball.
Number 3 in softball.
Is OU still number 2?
I think OU's number 4 right now.
I don't think you want to play OU in Oklahoma City in softball, do you?
No, but I mean, if you want to win the national championship, you have to go through them. So you better prepare yourself for it.
There is not a scenario in the world where Mike White can beat Patty Gasso in a 3-game series. He might get her. He might. I just said it in the World Series. In the World Series, he might get a game on them in the World Series if he catches them in the early matches where they're just playing one game. But if it got to the series and he had to beat them twice,
he's gonna get it at some point.
Listen, dude, y'all's team was loaded last year. And OU was loaded. OU was historically loaded. But it was the mental mistakes that were made last year.
Yeah, correct.
By him as well. Right. Some of his coaching moves were stupid. And it's not typical coaching moves and not typical softball plays that would have been made against any other team. Correct. Oklahoma's in their head, dude. They're in their head.
They gotta get
out. I don't even know if it's rent-free or what. I think
it's not rent-free. I mean,
well, maybe it is.
Precedent there. But we're coming for it. We're coming for it all. Texas is probably going to win the Directors' Cup again. So
Well, that's great. Congratulations, Texas. When it comes to Vic Schaefer or Mike White, I'm not sure.
Really?
I'm not sure who's worse.
To me, they're not even close. If I was an opposing fan, Vic Schaefer would be an afterthought, a virtual afterthought. I would hate Mike White. I would hate Mike White for sure. With Vic Schaefer, yeah, he's. To me, it's not even close. I would hate Mike White.
I don't like coaches that gripe at the referees on the first play of the game.
Fair enough.
I just don't like in any sport. And it just happens to be that he's at Texas, and you can't even do a jump ball where he's not mad about it.
But Mike White gripes at everything and everyone.
Well, and he says stupid stuff. To be fair, Mike White says some dumb things.
Correct. That's what I'm like, it's not close, man.
Yeah, just beat Oklahoma. Just don't worry about the rest of it. Beat Oklahoma. And I don't think he can do it in a series. Can he get one? Yeah, he can probably get one.
Hey,
Texas is good.
For it, though.
He ain't beating them. If they go against each other in a series, Patty Gasso beats him. We got to talk Masters recap. Again, a little late on this just because of the nature of when we're scheduled. However, I want to put my thoughts out there on this. Most exciting final round of any golf tournament I've ever seen. And that includes some Tiger Woods rounds.
It was outstanding.
The roller coaster of emotions that Rory McIlroy put himself through and us through was unbelievable. And it started on the first hole. It started the first hole with the dumbest double. Look, my daughters are 12 and 13. And when they make a double, I'm pissed at them. All right. This is the best golfer in the world right now. He is playing out of his mind. Just wanted to come off the players win. Had a 2-stroke lead over DeChambeau. And the lead was evaporated in one hole because he mismanaged and could not squeak out a bogey. Okay, whatever. That's just the first thing. The very first thing out of the gate. You're like, what is going to happen? And then he finally kind of gets his groove back, only to dump it in Rae's Creek on 13. And you're from 55 yards out, which there's a couple thoughts about that real quick when it comes to course management. Number one, his game plan all week was to go for that green in 2. Okay, it's a par 5. It's a par 5 with a creek in front of it. He drives the ball long. He led the field in driving distance. And that includes Bryson DeChambeau in the field. He's a long enough driver, play to go for it in 2, because then the worst thing that has to happen is if you do hit it in the water, you're taking a drop for your 4th shot, you get up and down and you make 5. You're likely, though, not to hit it in the water because you're Rory McIlroy and your full swings are pretty on point this week. So I question his course management to when he finally gets a lead and back again to then lay up on 13. Like, if anything, he should have kept the pedal on the gas. That's number one. Number 2, he did choose to lay up. Maybe that was always his game plan. If he had the lead, was to lay up. Dude, it's a 55-yard wedge shot. You got to get it on the green somewhere. It has to clear Rae's Creek. It cannot go to the right of that pin, and it surely can't go short. It's a colossal mistake, okay? And then you could see it in his eyes, sheer terror. It reminded me of Greg Norman when Nick Faldo caught him in 96. He's got sheer terror in his eyes. He goes and bogeys 14 because he's literally got punched in the face. He's dazed. He's like the dazed fighter. You know, Apollo Creed just hit him right in the face. He's like, ugh. And he bogeys 14. Only, Kevin, to come back on 15, where on Saturday he hit one of the greatest 6-irons I've ever seen. He then hits the greatest 7-iron I've ever seen. That thing curls around the tree, lands up there, 5 feet near the hole. He didn't make the putt, but still, it was a hell of a shot on 15. And you're thinking, oh my God, well, he's got it. Nobody else is giving him a run. Oberg didn't give him a run. I regret Scheffler not getting. Scheffler makes 1 or 2 putts. I think if McIlroy sees Scheffler's name on the leaderboard, he pukes down his shirt. But he never did because Scheffler could never make a putt. All right, Justin Rose, on top of all that, makes 10 birdies in the final round. Birdie to 18, posts the number.
On 18 was ridiculous.
It's a great birdie.
Clutch putt. That
is a hard putt to make. There's very few that have made that on 18. Marco Mira made it in 98, following Tiger's win in 97. But it's a very hard putt to read, a hard putt to make. It doesn't break as much as you think. Okay, so now Rory has somehow secured himself a one-stroke lead after all of this. Gets to 18. He's 127 out, which is a stock 9-iron up the hill for him. And he blows right in the bunker and makes bogey. It's unfathomable.
Yeah.
And then only to recover and put it in 2 feet and win the Masters in a playoff. Kevin, dude, it was awesome. I'm sure I'm prisoner of the moment.
It was stressful for us. Imagine being him.
My son
we're
Jeffrey
all
said,
there fidgeting, and
my son Jeffrey said it was him versus himself.
Yeah, he told me that too. Yeah.
And him lost and himself won.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Yeah, good for him though. Finally completing the slam after all these years, 11 years of trying to get it.
He overcame a lot mentally.
Yeah,
because he is not. Look, Tiger Woods won so many. Jack Nicklaus won so many majors because they were always the best golfer that given day or week, but they were the toughest. They were the mentally toughest golfer. They made the best decisions. They did not let adversity affect the way they played the game. That's the reason why Nicklaus and Tiger are 1 and 1A when it comes to greatest ever, especially in the majors. McIlroy doesn't play that game. It's a different game. The emotions and the swings, they affect him. When he's going well, nobody's as cocky as Rory. I mean, dude, he's the cock of the walk. His shoulders are moving, the hips are moving. He's a strut, dude. He's got the bounce in his step. Dude, the minute he bogeyed 13 or double 13 and the shoulders went down and the head went down. And, I like what his caddy said to him on 18. His caddy's his best friend, lifelong best friend. And a lot of crap has been given to him having him as his caddy. They don't think he's professional enough to be his caddy.
Interesting.
When he made the decision, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, changed caddies. His caddy said he just bogeyed 18. Some would say a choke job on it. It is a choke job. You miss it that far right, it's a choke job. Greg Norman did that in 1986 when he saw Jack Nicklaus's name on the leaderboard. He'd hit it in the same bunker, made bogey on 18 to lose it. So these things happen at the Masters. That's what's so awesome about the Masters is you can allude to specific things. Anyway, they get to the tee box on the 18th on the playoff hole, and his caddy said, "Hey, dude, we would take this on Monday. We would take being on 18 with a chance to win this in a playoff against anybody in the field. So get your S together and let's go win this."
Wow.
Awesome advice.
Yeah, seriously.
It's what the dude needed to hear. Put it all away. It doesn't matter. It was great, man. It was great. All right. I'm going to let you. I talked a lot about that. I'm going to let you talk about this last topic, and then we'll get out of here. Thunder await the winner of Mavs Grizzlies. Who do we want to win and why? And tell us about your expectations for Sunday when you will be there in person watching your Oklahoma City.
Yeah, well, honestly, I don't know how much it truly matters. I feel like the Thunder are a bad matchup for both of these teams, either Dallas or Memphis. The Anthony Davis part makes it interesting just because he's so good, right? But the rest of their pieces, man, without Luka and without Kyrie Irving, I see it difficult for Dallas to truly compete with this Thunder team. Memphis, same thing. I mean, they got some size in there with Edie at 7'4", but
how was his season this year? How was Edie's season this year?
he was okay. I mean,
he was okay.
He didn't get a ton of play, and they don't use him offensively as a post player like he was used at Purdue. So, the stats weren't great. I mean, 9 points, 8 rebounds.
Almost a double-double.
Yeah, almost a double-double. He's a solid player. But, I think and also they have, of course, Jaren Jackson Jr., who is a good player. I wish he was a better rebounder, though, for being a 7-footer and a guy who's won Defensive Player of the Year. He's not a strong rebounder at all. But I don't know, man. And then Ja, he's so up and down. You never know if he's going to play and when he's out there. I mean, I do give him credit for coming back. He turned his ankle pretty bad against Golden State in the play-in game and came back in the game. It was still pretty effective there. But I'm just looking forward to the playoffs and just seeing, how much the Thunder have matured from last year, right? And especially the other guys, we know what we're going to get from Shea. But in those clutch moments, other teams are going to trap Shea. They're going to blitz him, and they're going to force other guys to make shots. And I just want to see if those guys are going to be able to make shots. Is J-Dub going to be able to make shots? Is Chet going to be able to hit open shots? Isaiah Joe and Casey Wallace, those guys, are they going to be able to hit big shots in the fourth quarter of some of these games? Because they'll have to in order for the Thunder to be the team that we think they can be. And I think they can make the finals and win the title this year.
A lot's been said about Chet coming off his injury and not really being in a rhythm yet heading into the playoffs. More concerning to you? You just mentioned those two, but who's more concerning, Chet or J-Dub?
I have to say Chet. I think J-Dub really learned from last year. He struggled in that series against Dallas, and I think he'll have a lot to prove. I actually think Chet is going to be good in the playoffs. He's still finding his rhythm, but I think he's really going to come into form at the right time. I expect him to be very good.
When will we know if Shea wins the MVP?
I'm not exactly sure when they'll announce MVP. I think this race might end up being closer than maybe we expected a month or two ago, because Jokic has had truly one of the best seasons in the history of the NBA.
I told you what I wanted a couple weeks ago in a kind of a motivational type situation is I would like Jokic to go ahead and win the MVP.
Yeah.
And let that Shea supporting cast take it as just the biggest chip on the shoulder that they've ever had. You know what I mean? I'm serious.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
That would be
because
great.
they're young enough to be motivated by that.
For sure.
They're young enough and they're close enough. I mean, dude, they do interviews together. They have each other's back on literally every situation that occurs. You're telling me that if Shea gets snubbed and they give it to Jokic, deserved or not, that they're not going to take it personally?
They would absolutely take it personally.
I would love it. I would freaking love it, dude.
Especially if they ended up playing Denver in the playoffs. Can you imagine that?
It would remind me of Florida State in 2000 and Torrance Marshall and Chris Winkie.
Yeah, that's our trophy.
I could see Lou Dort saying, "Give my boy his trophy back." You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing with Jokic, right? Okay, so Shea was the NBA's leading scorer this year, 32.7 points a game. Jokic was third, 29.6. Okay, he was also third in rebounds per game, 12.7. And then he was second in assists per game. We've never had anybody finish top three in points, rebounds, and assists in the history of the NBA. Top three in all.
When's the last time we had a 7-footer second in assists in the NBA?
I don't know if we ever have. I mean, going down the list of assists per game,
that stat's unbelievable.
The only player who could be considered a center who's on the top 20, Giannis, who kind of plays like a center, 6.5, and then Sabonis out in Sacramento with 6 assists a game. That's it. That's the only bigs on the list. So yeah, it's an insane season he's had.
Okay, Pip aside and all that, who do you think wins the MVP?
Shea.
You think they give it to him?
I do. Yeah, I think some people might even have a little bit of voter fatigue, seeing that Jokic has already won it twice.
Yeah, that's kind of the nature of it. That's the nature of the NBA MVP race.
Yeah.
That'd be, like I said, it'd be interesting. All right, Kevin.
I'm sorry. Three times. He's won it 3 times.
Oh well, that's yeah. They're probably going to Shea.
Can you imagine that? Nikola Jokic, a second-round pick. He's a 41st pick in the 2014 draft out of Serbia, and he's won 3 MVPs.
I can't think of another second-round pick that's had anywhere close to that level of production.
No, I actually saw him as a rookie. I was living in Colorado at the time, and the Spurs were playing the Nuggets up there. So I went up there, and I was really impressed. I didn't even know who he was.
Sure.
He was going right at Tim Duncan. And Tim Duncan, at this point of his career, obviously he's older, but from an analytics standpoint, he's still a top 5 defensive player in the entire NBA. And he was going through, like, putting his going into Tim Duncan's chest and shooting hook shots over him. So just really competitive and stuff. It's like, this guy's pretty good. Never thought he would be that, but definitely noticed him as a rookie.
What happens if I Google best second round draft pick in the NBA? Draymond Green, Jalen Brunson. I'm just looking at some random list.
Yeah.
Cedric Ceballos with the Suns, Anthony Davis, Manu. Again, we're not talking.
Oh, you mean Antonio Davis, right?
What did I say?
You said Anthony
I'm
Davis.
sorry, Antonio Davis.
Okay.
Yeah. Antonio Davis, Cedric Ceballos, Manu Ginobili's on there.
Yeah, of course, Manu Ginobili. Yeah, Hall of Famer. Talking about Hall of Famer.
Marc Gasol.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that's it, dude. That's it, and that list goes back to like 1989.
Yeah, I mean, Jokic is obviously
that's amazing.
Clearly the best player out of all those guys. Yeah. Crazy stuff, man.
All right, Kevin.
So, yeah, I still
Easter weekend. Have a great weekend. Try to stay dry. Looks like we'll have some weather. Try to stay dry. Enjoy time with the family. We'll talk next week. Boomer.
Hook 'em.